Welcome to this very special lecture on the 8th habit. So far we were seeing what the 7 habits of effectiveness are. Now we are going one step further. We are moving from effectiveness to greatness. This is how we have organized our presentation. We will be giving you the context in which we are presenting the case. Then we will be seeing that there are 2 roads and we have to choose the right one, and then we will move to the core of the 8th habit. 8th habit is to find your voice and inspire others to find theirs, and then we will be concluding. Mother Teresa had said that few of us can do great things, but all of us can do small things with great love. So she was focusing on love. If you do small things, it will do miracle. We need to integrate whatever we learn. If we do not integrate, it does not become our second nature. It does not get internalized. So in order to internalize something, we should put to practice whatever we have learned, whatever we have understood. Unless we do that, it is that understanding, that learning is meaningless. Let us see how the organization should behave. Organizations should believe that high achievers are made, they are not born. They will not come ready-made to the organization. It is the responsibility and it is in the good spirit of the organization. It will be beneficial to the organization as well if the candidates, the staff, the members of the organizations, they contribute to the organization, and they can do the contribution only if the right atmosphere is there, where their talents, where their skills, where their knowledge would be put to the right use. If the staff is given enough information or knowledge and they are trained long enough, then they will be productive and that will be beneficial to the organization. Training focuses on identifying those gaps where a staff is lacking. The area of improvement means, or it is similar, it is same as area of weakness. So the organization should find an individual's area of weakness and accordingly give sufficient knowledge and skill and training to that member. Great organizations know the difference between knowledge, skill and talent. Talent, when it is channelized through the right job, is the one constant requirement for superior performance. Intelligence cannot be reliable, but if somebody is consistently showing the talent, then it is a reliable measure of one's performance. What is talent? Many people believe that it is a special gift. Talent is a very special gift which is only endowed to a very few people. Talent is much more than this and is lot more pervasive than it is generally viewed. Everyone has talent, the natural predisposition that makes each of us productive effectively. You will ask as a research person, how should we believe this? As a research person, we should always question. That is what we were saying when we were talking about Aristotle, that he used to ask questions. Why do you say this way? So you may ask this question. We are saying that talent or the gift, some people are said to be gifted. Why is that so? Some people have more ability, more concern, they are more productive in certain areas or certain skills, whereas other people are not. Some people can do mathematics in just flies, whereas some people struggle to do little mathematics. So the differences in the capacities are there. Then why do we say that everybody is gifted, everybody has talent? Now this question could be answered in 2 ways. We accept or we reject. Suppose we accept the negative of the proposition. Suppose we believe that people are born as talented people. This supposition, this statement that you are born a talented person, you are born a manager, you are born an artist, you are born an actor, then somebody who is born with the talent of acting only has the right to do the job of acting. Other people do not have the right to do the job of acting, or any, for that matter, any other profession. People used to believe that a person, these kind of traits are genetically inherited without really meaning what the meaning of genetic is. They used to think in their own traditional wisdom, they used to think a person who is an actor, his son will be an actor or something like that. So, that is the debate of nature nurture kind. We call it as the nature nurture debate, that something is contributed by the nature and some other things are contributed by the society, by the environment. But anyway, suppose we assume that a person is born creative, then that means that other people do not have the right to be creative. Other people should not, those people who have shown in their early life the trait of being creative, they only have the right, or they don't only have the future in the creative field, and other people do not have that kind of freedom or that kind of future in that creative area. If we accept this argument, then this is a disenabling argument. Suppose I have not been able to show any of the talent in the conventional traditional ways, does that mean that I do not have the future? Does that mean that I should give up hopes to be a good person, a good successful professional? So, if we accept that position that people are born talented, the talents are born and not inculcated, then it is a disempowering kind of a thing. We do not know, we will not be able to prove or disprove with certainty whether such one thing is correct or the other thing is correct, but one proposition is an empowering proposition, other proposition is a disempowering proposition, it is an undemocratic kind of a proposition. It means it leads to the system where an artist will be a father of an artist, will be a son of an artist, there will be a community of artists and some things like that. So, that is the kind of system from which we have broken away, and we are giving chance, we are giving opportunities to everybody of every caste and every creed, every kind of their background, that everybody is equal, everybody has the right, everybody has the capacity to do great jobs in all the fields. Only thing is how hard you have tried. Every person has got 24 hours in a day, whether he is a prime minister or he is a class 3 or class 4 employee. Every person has been given equal time. Only thing is how do they do their job. The way they do their job may be different, therefore, their achievement may be different. So, that is the crux of this slide, that everybody has talent, natural predisposition that makes each of us particularly effective. When this recurrent pattern of thinking, feeling and behavior is applied to the right role, superior performance is generated. The trick is to find that role in which the talent can be put to the best route. So, this is the point which is more important. How do we achieve greatness in any position, in any setting? We can find greatness by finding the right balance of the 4 human attributes of talent, need, conscience and passion. The point of intersection of these 4 is called as the voice. Talent is what can you be the best in. Need is what drives you. Conscience is what does it tell you. Conscience is basically is the voice, or it is the knower of the good and the bad, and it tells you what is to be done. Passion is what you are deeply passionate about. So, when you have everything, suppose you find an area in which you have a talent, that means you can do things best. When there is a need, that means society needs it, people around you needs it. Suppose I am a great painter, but society does not need it, it is going through a period of war, then such things they do not have the luxury of appreciating the paintings, then society does not need it, and then that cannot be the voice. Conscience means what is right and what is wrong. The kind of painting which inspires people is something which is needed by the society. It may be done in a good way by me, and so it has the point of intersection between need, voice and conscience, because I feel this is the right thing to do, is to inspire the society. I can also make paintings which people will understand, will appreciate, will clap about, but which may be degenerative, which may be giving hate amongst the people. There are many things, many times people inspire hate amongst people, and it is liked by many of the people. They should not like it, but they may like it. Then it is not the right, it is not the conscience which is there, and therefore again it is not the voice, because your conscience does not allow it, and still you are doing it out of the need of your financial nature or something like that. So, again that is not the voice. So, voice is something which has all these four ingredients. You are best in it, the society needs it, you think it is right, and you are passionate about it. You want to do it very passionately, you really feel about it. So, all these things we will see that there is a spiritual angle to it, there is a physical angle to it, there is a social angle to it, and there is an emotional angle to it. So, all the four angles are there, and the voice is basically the point of intersection, it is the meeting ground of all these four points. So, I have just said that there are four dimensions in the society, in a personality. It is mind, body, heart and spirit. So, what should we do with all these four things? Suppose we assume for our body, suppose we assume that you have an heart attack and you are, then you live accordingly. We take it for granted. We think that we are only 25 years of old age, I have 75 years to live. So, I do not care, I can live according to my whim and mercy. So, I may I may indulge into various kinds of luxuries, various kinds of food habits which may not be good for my body. But suppose somebody says that you are not going to live longer because you have certain ailment like heart attack or something, your heart is not good, then you will not be taking your body for granted, you will be acting accordingly, you will be acting in the best possible manner for your bodies. You will be doing exercises, you will be doing you will be taking your diets regularly, you will see to it that your mind is in control, you will not argue heatedly because you will feel that you may have another heart attack. So, for your body, very simple principle is there, and now you have to live accordingly. For the mind, the formula is that you assume that life in your possession is 2 years and you have to prepare accordingly. You have only 2 years to live, you have not done much of the things. So, what are the things which you will be able to, which you wish to do? So, that will prepare your mind for your another life. For the heart, you assume that everything which you say about the another person, they can overhear. So, speak accordingly. Suppose you and I are talking about a third person, that third person is not around. So, I have take a liberty of speaking ill about it, and you also take very great pleasure in listening that ill about that person. We are criticizing that person because the person is not around. But this formula says that assume that this person can overhear you. whatever you are saying, there is some magic by which he can hear you. So, if you assume that there is a magic by which whatever you say about any person, that another person is able to hear, then you will be very particular, you will be very careful about whatever you are saying. You will not say, you will not criticize it, you will not, whatever, suppose you dare to criticize in front of him, you will criticize in his absence also. So, this is a formula for the heart, for the emotional kind of that part of our life. For the spirit, assume that you have met the Almighty and now live accordingly. What is the spirit actually? We have said, it is the wisdom and things like that. So, basically the spirit is the purpose of our life. The truth is the ultimate reality. The truth or the ultimate reality is something which all seek. What a scientist seeks is to know the truth about the nature, how the subatomic particles behave, what are the various things in which the nature works. So, suppose as a scientist I have seen the ultimate reality, I have seen all that is to be known, then how am I going to live? This is the formula for our spiritual training. There are 4 needs of people depending on the 4 dimensions of the personality. We have seen it in the last lecture also. For mind, the need is to learn. For body, the need is to live. For heart, the need is to love, and for the spirit, the need is to leave a legacy. We have seen 4 needs of people. Now, we will move ahead. We will see the whole person in the world job. As we said, there are 4 dimensions. For the spiritual dimension, the person is telling the world that let me serve. From his body part, he is communicating to the world that pay me fairly. For his emotional part, he is saying that treat me kindly. For his mental part, he is saying that use me creatively. So, this is something, when we say voice, it is the voice of our whatever voice we generate. Now, you will ask, what is the meaning of, what is the correlation, what is the mapping between the voice which you can hear, in the conventional traditional manner, whatever we learned about voice, what is the correlation between that voice and this voice which we have just defined as the point of intersection between our spiritual and all these 4 dimensions, whatever together it means. So, from that point of view, you can understand this slide, that this is something which everybody is communicating with the world. As we have said, his spirit says that let me give me the opportunity to serve. His body says that pay me fairly. So, these are the voices, these are the sub parts of the voices. From organizational point of view, organization needs, or organization is communicating to its employees that it expects meaning, integrity and contribution from its individual member. So, it is hearing, it is listening, it is expecting the meaning, integrity and contribution from its members. From its member, it is expecting financial health, it is expecting good relations amongst its employees, it is expecting growth and development for its employees. So, this is something which, without using the sound, the organization is communicating to its members that this is how we want you to behave. There are 2 roads. One is to find your voice, and second is to inspire others to find theirs. Finding your voice is the road which is less travelled. losing your voice is the road which is travelled by many. If you find your voice, if you are able to judge yourself, analyze yourself and find your 4 dimensions, analyze your 4 dimensions and accordingly you find out what is the point of intersection, what is your voice. Once you find your voice, you will be travelling in the path which has been travelled less. And if you inspire others to find their voices, then again it is the path which is less travelled. No, not many people do this. Not many people find their voice. Not many people help others to find theirs. So it is a path which is travelled by less people, very few people, and therefore it is the path of greatness. If you travel in a path in which you lose your voice, you deny or you ignore any one of the dimension. Suppose you ignore your conscience, suppose you only live by your stomach, your financial needs, and you just completely ignore the other parts of your personality, then you are losing your voice. You are not acting on your voice. And suppose you keep others from finding their voices, then again you are not doing a good service. It is something which all the people do, most of the people do. It is the path of mediocrity. It is the path of middle class kind of thing. Mediocrity means it is medium thing, not either you can. It is actually euphemism. It is all it is something to do with the medium class of thing. It is not the high class of people that we are talking about. It is not the great people we are talking about. It is the middle, medium or low people we are talking about. Those people who do not listen to their voice and they make others not to find their voice. First part is to find your voice. To find your voice, you have to discover your voice and you have to express your voice. Discover means you are removing the cover. It is there, but you have not seen it. Dust has been settled on something, so you are not able to see it, what it is really there. When you remove the dust, then you really see the true nature of the things. So it is discovering your voice. So it is in that sense, it is discovery. Potential that we have from our birth, those are our birth gifts, and which is mostly unopened, which is mostly covered. Therefore, we have to discover it. What are our birth gifts? Freedom and power to choose. We have seen in our first lecture that we have the power to say no, to be responsible. We sometimes immediately say that this is the consequence which is utterly unpleasant to me, and therefore that consequences I am not going to face at all. So you treat as if that consequences, that choice, that option doesn't exist. But when you discover yourself, when you discover your voice, then you understand that there are certain very unpleasant options which are available, which you may exercise. So it is basically one of the birth gift is the freedom and power to choose. Other gift is the principles or the natural laws which are universal, which is timeless and which are self evident. And then there are 4 intelligences: the physical quotient, the intelligence quotient, the emotional quotient and the spiritual quotient, or you can talk about the physical quality, emotional quality, intelligent quality and spiritual quality. We have seen in our very first lecture that, or about when we talked about the proactivity, that there is a stimulus and there is a response, and there is a space between the stimulus and response, and that space it gives you the freedom to choose. So your response is not automatic, it is not instantaneous, but you take your time and find out which way to respond, which options to choose. Principles are the natural, self evident, timeless principles. They were there since ancient times and they will be there till the end of the universe. These principles are fairness. Fairness means that whatever I expect myself to be treated, I should give the same treatment to the others. If I expect to be treated in a nice manner, I should be nice to the other people. I don't think anybody will disagree or will say that I wish to be treated in an unkind manner. I wish to be treated in a harsh manner, except for very few psychopath or few psychological phenomena where such things do happen. But in most of the people, they wish to be treated kindly. They don't wish to be pained. They wish to be healed. So if I wish to be healed, I should heal others. Kindness, to be kind with other people. Everybody expects to be kind, give respect, be integrity, to have integrity. By what we mean by integrity, suppose I am saying something and I am acting according to whatever I have said, then I have the integrity or honesty. Honesty is, again, you already know, we have seen that honesty is the principle in which we deal in a very predictive manner. We do not act in an arbitrary manner. Service is to serve to the other people, to help other people, to serve to the society, to serve to the needy people, those in the disadvantaged class, and contribution is the contribution to the society. So, there are 4 intelligences. For our physical dimension, we have PQ or physical quotient, we have emotional quotient for our emotional dimension, we have IQ, which is very well known. IQ, they are basically, we can take tests in which they statistically they find out what is your mental age and what is your physical age. So, what is the ratio of your physical age to your mental age? Suppose your mental age and your physical age is similar or same, then your IQ is 100. If you are more intelligent than the statistically average of the person, then your IQ would be more than 100. If it is 1.5 times that of the same person, then it is 150. So, similarly, we can also talk about the spiritual quality or spiritual quotient, which gives the quality parameter for your spirit. Express your voice. That is, the first part was to discover our voice, and second part is to express our voices. For physical dimension, it is the discipline. Suppose we routinely do exercises, routinely take our diet, routinely go to the sleep. Suppose our diet, our sleep, our exercises are conforming to some discipline, conforming to some standards, then we can say that we are expressing, our body is expressing that part, how disciplined we are. That is how our body is expressing to you and to the world. Suppose you are falling sick most of the time, then we cannot say that you are physically very fit. Mental dimension is expressed by the vision. Whatever vision you have and whatever vision you share with the rest of the world, that is how your mental dimension expresses its voice. Passion is something which your emotional dimension expresses about yourself. How passionate you are about certain things, about certain goals or certain mission, that tells the world how passionate you are, and that tells the emotional quality of your being. Conscience, how you take decisions based on the principles which you really believe in, that is the conscience, and your conscience is expressed by the actions which you take. A summary is given here. So, a whole person has these 4 dimensions: body, mind, heart and spirit. It corresponds to the 4 needs: to live, to learn, to love and to leave a legacy. And there are 4 intelligences corresponding to these 4: peak physical intelligence, mental intelligence, emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence. And these are the 4 attributes which expresses themselves: discipline, vision, passion and conscience. Inspire others to find their voice. The leadership challenge. 90% of all leadership failures are character failures. We do not succeed because our mental fibers or our character fibers are not strong. So, this is what it is. So, trust is it has these compartments: wisdom, competence and character. So, when the character and competence they intersect, you get the wisdom. Leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. An effective leader has these attributes. Most important attribute is that of integrity. Whatever you talk and the way you walk. So, the balance between talking and walking, that is the integrity, that has a very large contribution to effective leader. Then comes communication, then comes focus on people, then comes the visionary, your vision, then comes the caring part of your character, then whether decision making, how good you are in the making of the decisions. These are the various attributes of a effective leader, and this is how it is basically it contribute. 4 roles of leaderships: modeling, pathfinding, aligning and empowering. Modeling means inspire trust without expecting it. That means you inspire trust amongst other people, so they trust you, but you do not expect it. So, this is the personal moral authority. Do not expect anything coming from them. You keep doing good things and you do not have any expectation from other people. That way you can inspire trust into other people. So, this is how you model. Suppose I want to lead you, and suppose I do not give examples by my actions, then I am not good at modeling. I am not giving you the right model. Here modeling is something to do or similar to the role model which we talk about. Your ideal, your icons, they are your models. So, if you are to be a good leader, you have to be good icon, you can then only inspire the faith in your followers, and they will follow you and they will know how you will act. Suppose you are in a doubt. How do you do? What do you do? Sometimes what people do is they think about their role model and they ask themselves what that role model would have acted on in this particular situation. How, suppose my role model is, let us say, Mahatma Gandhi, or let us say Buddha, then in my situation how he would have acted. That way, since you know about these leaders through your readings, through you know the interaction with them through the books or through the incidences in their lives, because you feel passionate about these icons, then they become model to you. In similar manner, your physical leader, your leader who is there in your organization, you are seeing him daily on a day-to-day basis, you are watching his actions, and then you understand his nature, and then in the moments of crisis you will ask yourself what would he feel, what would he expect, how he would have done what he would have expected from me, and accordingly you act. So, this is the concept of modeling. Pathfinding: create order without demanding it. So, you are not demanding order, but you create order. It is very simple to say silence, silence, order, order, just like we see in the court of the law. They are demanding order, but a good leader will not demand order. His actions, his way of working, his way of communicating, through his words, through his voices, through his actions, it will generate order, it will create order without really demanding it. That is the part of the visionary moral authority. Aligning means nourishes both vision and empowerment without proclaiming them. That means it generates, it nourishes, it gives, it creates that kind of an environment in which vision, every of his the follower will have the vision, will develop the vision, and also will empower him, will empower his followers without really expressing it in a very explicit manner. Suppose the way we have, the way myself as a leader and the way myself, my followers, we interact, our interaction is such that through modeling and pathfinding they develop the vision in themselves. Through our interactions they develop, all my followers develop the vision for themselves. They know the plan, the greater picture, the big picture in which we as a team are working. Then it is called as alignment. And suppose I also empower them. So, there are the key words are vision and empowerment, nourishing the vision and empowerment into the followers without explicitly saying it, without giving a making a statute or law or rules. Suppose we do that, then we are aligning. Aligning means aligning to the vision, goal and contribution of the organization. This organization is for poor. So, everybody who is there in the team, in the organization, he knows that this is the vision of the organization and he acts in the manner that contributes to this mission. So, aligning ourselves to the vision and mission of the organization. Empowerment unleashes the human potential without externally motivating it. It is the cultural moral authority. What do successful leaders do? What do? They set direction. That means they do the kind of modeling job. They demonstrate personal character, their habits, their integrity, their trust and their analytical thinking. It demonstrates their personal character. Then they also mobilize individual commitment. They make everybody engaged into the system. They share power with their followers and that way everybody is aligned and then everybody will work together and they will synergize themselves in the utmost manner, and that is how the society or the organization will contribute to the best of the society. Engender organizational capability, building teams, managing changes. So, the organization's capacity is developed by building smaller teams and managing the changes. The change is the only reality. We have to keep on changing ourselves with the changing times and with the changing environment. So, this can happen when each of the members has built its character. In summary, whole body paradigms has the 4 dimension: body, mind, heart and spirit, and these are the, and its objectives are to live, to learn, to love, and to leave a legacy. And there are 4 intelligences: PQ, IQ, EQ, and SQ. And there are 4 attributes: discipline, vision, passion, and conscience, and 4 roles: modeling, pathfinding, which can together contribute to focus, and aligning and empowering, which contribute to the execution part. Focus and execution. Focus is what matters most, and execution is to make it happen. The 4 disciplines of executions are: focus on wildly important, create an compelling scoreboard, translate lofty goals into the specific goals, hold each other accountable all the time. So, these are the way we can inculcate, we can generate discipline while we are executing our mission into reality. So, we do it by finding out what is more important, and then we translate those high goals into the practical ones, specific ones, and then with the accountability we can execute these roles, these actions into reality. Execution gap. Why we are not successful in execution is when we do not have the clarity, when we do not know the very clearly the goals and priorities of the team or organization, when we do not have commitment, not buying into the goals. Whatever goals has been set, suppose we really do not, from my heart I do not believe that those goals are really good, those goals are really worth attaining to, or those goals are really achievable, then I will not be committing myself. And if the team members do not commit, then there is a gap between leader and the follower, then there is the execution will not be proper. Translation. Not knowing what they need to do to help the team or organization achieve its goal. Enabling. Not having the proper structure, system, or freedom to do their jobs well. So, if you are not enabled your followers properly, then the execution definitely will not be proper. Synergy. When there is lack of synergy, when people do not act together, we have seen a whole lecture on synergy. When everybody opens up, everybody has trust in one another, when everybody thinks win-win, then there is a synergy. When that synergy is lacking, then execution will not be properly done. Accountability, lack of accountability. When we do not hold one another accountable, then you can do wrong things and get away. If that is the spirit, if that is the feeling among the people, then certainly they will not be able to do great jobs. So, these are the 4 dimensions of leadership: is to do, the body part; to evaluate, that is the emotional part; to plan is the mental part; and to serve is the spiritual part. So, we have seen the context, the 2 roads, and finding our voice and inspiring others to find theirs. 3 generations of principle centered living. In parent, child, and grandchildren, suppose there are 3 generations of people. If the parents are humble and they are courageous, then their child will have very high integrity, and their grandchild will have wisdom and abundance mentality. But if the parents have arrogance and cowardiceness, they are not courageous enough, and if they are arrogant instead of being humble, then their child, the child does not really necessarily means the biological child, it may also mean the next generation of employees or people. These people will have duplicity instead of integrity. Integrity means walking the talk. Whatever I am saying, I am doing accordingly. Duplicity means I am saying good things, but I am doing bad things. So, such people who have arrogance and who are coward, such people will in essence generate duplicity in their next generation, and such the third generation would have foolishness and scarcity mentality, because everybody is looking after the bread, everybody is grabbing other person's fortunes. So, these people they will be generating such people who will have the scarcity mentality rather than the abundance mentality. They will not be wise, they will be fools. Courage is not the absence of fear, rather the judgment that something else is more important than the fear. This is something, is a very great sentence or great quotation. Suppose a bus is coming and a mother and her child is crossing the road, and the bus or the vehicle is likely to crush the child. What the mother does is she puts herself in the danger, and she puts herself, her own life in peril, and saves her child. She has acted in a courageous manner. So, was there an absence of fear in her? In an absolute sense, that lady in any other circumstances may be just as afraid as anybody else, but when she has the judgment that something else is more important than fear, then she has acted in a courageous manner. So, that is why this is the explanation of these two sentences. Courage is not absence of fear. Why people sacrifice their lives at border or in various manners, in various organizations, various revolutions, when they believe in something, that this is something which is more important than my life, then they will sacrifice their lives. On a day-to-day basis, we do compromises, or we take certain decisions in which we have to choose between 1 and 2, and we do that kind of decision which is more convenient to us. Taking one decision, taking another decision, one is more convenience to myself, other is less convenient to myself. I will take that decision which is more convenient to me. But when I have to decide between my conveniences and my child's conveniences, maybe I would take a decision which is more convenient to my child. Some people deny promotions because they will not be able to take care of their children. When they do that, they are showing some trait which is a smaller exercise of this phenomena of courage. 3 kinds of greatness: personal greatness, organizational greatness, and leadership greatness. The personal greatness is to do with the 7 habits. Organizational greatness is to do with vision, mission, and values of the organization, and leadership greatness, we have seen the 4 roles of the leadership, and at the nexus of it, at the point of intersection, is the 8th habit. There is a prayer which I had referred to in very first lecture. It is a prayer which is basically, it is taken from Alcoholic Anonymous book. They say that grant me the serenity to accept things that I cannot change, grant me the courage to change the things which I can change, and grant me the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you for being with me in this series of lecture. We have seen the 7 habits, we have seen how the team building exercises can take place, and that takes us to the end of this block. We will be moving to the next block in the next lecture. Till then, thank you.